What's going on, everybody? This is your host, GBs, and welcome to another special episode because this is a dual podcast where I'll do video for YouTube, of course, and right here on the podcast if you're listening. So, this episode is the Weekend Insider. Now, for those on YouTube that doesn't know, I do a Weekend Insider over the weekend, kind of highlight my top highlights that's going on in the world of pro wrestling, and then I do my normal weekday episodes as well. By the way, available on all major podcasting outlets like iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. So go out there and search it now. All you have to do is type into the Squared Circle Podcast. It's that very simple. And yes, I'm available on Facebook, X, Instagram, and on YouTube. Right here on YouTube. If you're watching, hit the subscribe. I got your attention. All right, folks. So on this episode, I'll give you guys my top highlights, the final weekend of October of 2023, as we're itching closer to Halloween. Are you excited? And yes, I did watch Friday Night SmackDown this past Friday on FS1, not on Fox, FS1, part of the Fox family, right? And All Elite Wrestling Collision on TNT. So I'm going to pick one highlight from both shows. Let's talk about Friday, shall we, on FS1. And I got to say, it was a solid night of WWE SmackDown this past Friday. Not too shabby, not too shabby. But it's a little change here, folks. A little on an aggressive side from LA Knight, who made his presence known this past Friday on SmackDown. So if you remember last Friday, and that's if you watch SmackDown, Roman Reigns is trying to dethrone LA Knight as usual. Sean, who's the real big dog on SmackDown? Look, we all know LA Knight is a huge star. Okay, if you've been living under the rock, you should go check it out, man. And I'm a fan. My personal feelings, I'm a fan of L.A. Knight, a unique superstar. It gives me that 90s attitude era character. And that's what I love about L.A. Knight so much. It's unique, right? Roman Reigns, he's like this mafia style boss who, has a gang organization out to hunt and destroy anything and everyone in the way of the bloodline on SmackDown or Raw or WWE in general, right? So we finally have a new babyface top star that's like a rebel, an outlawish superstar that could match up Roman Reigns. That's not Cody Rhodes, right? So it's amazing. It's amazing to see the popularity, the growth of LA Knight, who was, again, he's saying this word a joke when he was part of that Maximum Male model. And then he switched the name to LA Knight, but then steam started picking up and fans were picking up his shtick. I can't say shtick because I loved his character, his gimmick. So last Friday on SmackDown, Roman Reigns shut him down pretty quick. And what's amazing about this past Friday on SmackDown, Roman Reigns came out. So when he came out to kick off SmackDown, I was waiting for this whole 10-minute intro of Roman Reigns lifting the titles belts up, pyro going off, taking a sweet ass time going down to the ring. Well, it was cut off really quick from LA Knight because he came out and he just cut him off just like that. Phenomenal. And it saved me a couple minutes because I'm like, well, go to the bathroom, go to the kitchen, get some snacks. By the time I come back, maybe Roman will be in the ring. Nope. LA Knight saved all that for me. Came out and it's contract signing, folks, because Crown Jewels, WWE Crown Jewels was coming up on a Saturday, November 4th, next weekend, coming around the corner. So I'll have my previews and prediction right here on the podcast and on YouTube. As usual, I'm always almost right. Maybe 90 to 95% of my predictions are right. Phenomenal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check it out. My previous episodes on the podcast or on YouTube. Man, I love doing these. I love to see where the storyline is going. As a fan, sit back and watch it and enjoy it. I just love the twists and turns. I love it. And this is why WWE popularity is growing. This is why they're selling out arenas, selling out tickets, moving merch. Again, Survivor Series right here in Chicago. You see, I'm a Cubs fan here. Again, Allstate Arena opening up a little bit of seats, of course, if you knew about it or not. I looked at the list and they have seats behind the stage. Maybe they'll downscale the stage and make it a like a Royal Rumble or SummerSlam. Or you don't need the big stage. You don't need the massive pyro. Just a little bit of LED, can't speak. That's all you need. So who knows? Maybe I will be there. So let's go back to SmackDown here, folks. I'm going off a tangent here. So LA Knight made his presence known this past Friday on SmackDown. Okay, so he came out and he showed Roman Reigns he don't give two shits what he thinks. LA Knight could do whatever the hell he wants. And he sure the hell did. So Friday night SmackDown ended where I believe Roman Reigns got involved in the main event, of course. I believe who was involved in the main event? Jimmy Uso. A brain fart here. But long story short, so towards the end of SmackDown, LA Knight managed to wipe out Roman Reigns on SmackDown. And maybe that was a little teaser to Crown Jewels. Now, the question is I have for you, the viewers and the listeners, will LA Knight dethrone Roman Reigns? Long story booking here, folks. Is now the time for LA Knight to win the titles at Crown Jewels? Probably not. Again, you have a great match WrestleMania this past April between Cody and Roman Reigns. But Cody failed. And not necessarily. If it wasn't for the bloodline interfering in that match, maybe Cody could have been the champion. But is now the time for LA Knight to win the titles? No, not yet. Would this be a good opportunity for LA Knight to elevate his his superstar status? Absolutely. You got him to that level, right? To the Roman Reigns level. Now you're going to shoot him up to stardom. Not like he's a star now, but just take him even higher after that main event. It will help him. It helped Cody, right? After his loss to WrestleMania, right? And it will definitely help LA Knight at Crown Jewels. So we will dig deeper in my predictions for Crown Jewels within a couple of days. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Between Roman Reigns and LA Knight, I think Roman's going to walk away. Little teaser for my predictions. All right. So that's my top highlight from SmackDown. Now, if I had two highlights for SmackDown and Collision, obviously John Cena would be my second one. Obviously Cena's been teasing for the second week in a row now that he wants to retire, or maybe up here in his mind, he thinks so. Now, my personal beliefs here, folks, again, just my personal opinion, which don't mean jack squat to anybody. I'm a fan, just like you, right? So John Cena, there's pretty good chance he might go back to Hollywood, right? Same thing with The Rock. Obviously, The Rock came available due to I assume, the writer strikes. Now, the writer strike is done. The deal has been in place. Everyone's gone back to work. So with the writer strikes going back to work, meaning movies are being made. Movies are being made. It's time for these guys like Rock, Cena, to go back to work and start making movies. So which means that years. I'm talking about years in advance. Things are getting planned for movies, so that means The Rock's schedule is going to be busy. It's going to be busy. Obviously, he's a businessman. Same thing with Cena. He's going to be busy, not just with movies, but he also does commercials as well. So we know Cena's schedule is going to be busy. They're like, gee, what's that got to do with limited in the ring? As I mentioned, insurance liability. Guy is a Hollywood superstar. The last thing he needs is have a muscle torn or a broken bone, and he's not able to function in Hollywood. That's why this past Friday on SmackDown, Paul Heyman was like, Solo Sikoa, he has his thumb. He can use that and do something. See what I'm doing here? If you're watching on YouTube, I'm touching my throat. Paul Heyman is threatening John Cena that Solo Sikoa will take out the moneymaker right here. He needs this, his voice, to make movies, right? To speak, talk. So that's the reason why Cena's either going to notch it down or he's off in Hollywood now. And that's it. His in-ring career is winding down. So if you see Cena live on television or in person, enjoy it. Embrace it, because you never know when he will start slowing down completely, or maybe make a one-off every 4 or 5 years, right? So enjoy while we have Cena, right? Embrace it. Embrace the greatness. Okay. So that's where I'm going for that. But if I had a top 2 highlights, that would be it. All right, so let's talk about my top highlight. The single top highlight from All Elite Wrestling Collision this past Saturday on TNT. It was the main event of Collision. It was an instant classic. I'm talking about the AEW World Heavyweight Champion MJF versus the cleaner Kenny Omega. A great match. Great match. Again, a little bit of storytelling in this match, because look, MJF doesn't have the full on, how you want to word this, his wrestling techniques and skills are a little different compared to what Kenny Omega does, right? Kenny Omega is fast paced, high risk, lucha, New Japan style, British style. Again, just fast, high spots, insane moves, topes over the ring ropes, suicide dives. MJF is not well known for topes and suicide dive, which he did pulled off. He did it, I believe, twice. He pulled it off, jumping over the ropes, because like, hey, you know what? If you want to do it, I can do it better, right? And there were some scary spots where MJF was involved in this match. There was a point where Kenny Omega threw MJF over the ropes, and I'm not sure if MJF hit his head in the ring apron, but it sounded like a thud, like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did he just like hit his head? He's going to get a concussion, but seemed like he was fine. The other scary one where I believe Kenny Omega did a package pile driver, some kind of body slam move through a table with MJF, which was another scary part as well. So these guys put their body to the limits yesterday. They put each other to the test. Jim Ross would call it a slobber knocker. A hell of a match. Hands down, hell of a WWE, not WWE, AEW title match. See, I'm screwing up here because I enjoyed this match. So again, MJF has a X on his back, right? So not only he just defeated Kenny Omega in Collision, Samoa Joe's coming for him. Wardlow's coming for him. Jay White's coming for him. And then you have the Guns who are coming for him for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. So MJF has a massive X on his back, and whoever's behind this devil's mask, right? Which we still don't know who is it. You know, we don't know if it is MJF playing the half good guy and half devil, or maybe somebody else is, following him around the devil's mask. We don't know. So all we know, MJF has people targeting him like crazy. And his best friend Adam Cole's at home, right? Resting up from being injured from his ankle. So, long story short, to recap this, it was a great main event match. Another key point throughout Collision, I thought, I'm like, oh man, it was Bryan Danielson. Now, if you watch Bryan Danielson in the main event of Dynamite this past Wednesday, you had Kushka Okada, who else? Orange Cassidy tag teamed up against Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson. Towards the very end, I'm not sure if it was Okada's Rainmaker finishing move with the forearm, or it was the actual Orange Cassidy's punch. Now, if you've seen it, and I talked about it on my last episode of Into the Square Circle podcast, it was the awkwardness at the very end of Dynamite. We didn't know if Danielson's injury was legit or it was a shoot. That's the same thing, but was it a work? So we didn't know if he was legit injured or not. And I guess Claudio Castagnoli made it clear in his promo this past Saturday in Collision that Danielson broke a orbital bone. You're like asking, what the hell is that? Well, is this piece right here, right? Orbital bone right here, eye socket. This is the part where he broke it. And if you watch Danielson, he had his hand like this. He was cradling on the ground on Wednesday at Dynamite. So you knew something was not right, right? But at the same time, the announcers were a little sad. Okay, AEW Dynamite, this coming Wednesday. Excuse me. It wasn't uplifting the way they ended it, but there was no explanation on what was going on in the ring. So it was a legit injury and has a very serious injury. So we don't know if he's going to be under the knife to get surgery or say something that will heal and they'll take. All we know is this injury from Bryan Danielson right here. So orbital faction, broken bone. It's going to cost them the rest of the year. So, unfortunately, sadly, as wrestling fans, we hate seeing that stuff happen, but we're going to lose more time of Danielson on television due to that injury. And remember, he's planning on retiring pretty soon. So we just lost 2 months of Danielson due to the injury. But as a fan, we wish Bryan Danielson all the healing, right? All the prayers we can give him, and we wish him all the best. And man, horrible, absolute horrible. So that concludes my top highlight for AEW Collision this past Saturday, and the top highlight for WWE SmackDown this past Friday on FS1. All right, folks, here we go. That's it. Happy Halloween. Be safe. Have a great, great week as always as we're cruising into the first week in November. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe. If you're listening right here in the podcast, and all you have to do is subscribe as well, no matter what podcasting outlets. And where is that, G? Well, very simple. Into the Square Circle podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, so many out there. So wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, hit the like and hit the subscribe. And follow me on my social media platforms right here on YouTube. Hit subscribe on Facebook, X, and Instagram. All you have to do is search Into the Squared Circle podcast. All right, my friends, have a great, great rest of your week. And I will talk to you guys about post WWE Raw, right? AEW Dynamite, my previous predictions on Crown Jewels this weekend, and whatever's going on in pro wrestling. All right, my friends, take care and happy wrestling. Bye-bye, everybody.